Every company, big or small, runs on software. Whether you're building software or buying it, Pendo is software that makes your software better. Using analytics to understand behavior across your apps, your team can easily identify how users are interacting with your product so you can provide the best experience possible. Pendo also helps you use this quantitative data along with collected qualitative data to help you understand how your users feel so you can deliver the best product for your customers. Comprehensive data collected through analytics can be used to create personalized in-app guides that can lead users through your software, assisting greater adoption of the product and provide a more intuitive user experience. With robust segmentation, Pendo helps you understand individual behavior so you can deliver communication in context to specific groups of users. Hearing directly from users about their experience provides deep insight into what works and what doesn't. With feedback, you can centralize all user requests and prioritize them so that your developers are focused on building the best version of your product. Pendo is the only complete product platform that combines feedback, targeted in-app guides, and analytics so you can identify and address pain points in the user journey to ensure greater engagement. Whether your users are customers or employees, the power of Pendo is available across web and mobile applications without the need for engineering. Pendo, software that makes your software better.
Welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. Before we get going with the next helping of inspiring content, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for helping us bring this event to your screens. And don't forget you can access even more content from exclusive articles and interviews to all past and future events on demand, as well as templates and frameworks by becoming a PLA member. Head over to productledalliance.com for more info. Enjoy the next session.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. This is our last session of the day, and I'm really pleased to introduce Abhishek and Shishir for their fireside chat on defining and measuring product market fit. Let us know where you're tuning in from and drop your questions in the chat. But yeah, I'll hand over to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. Hey guys, so super excited to be here. We have a bunch of questions which we would love to answer for you folks, but we'll start with some quick introductions. So, hey Shishir, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Abhishek. Hi, everyone. First of all, super excited to be here. Looking forward to interacting with this group and sharing a few things, but also would love to learn from you and answer any of your questions. So just by introduction, I'm Shishir Agrawal. I am a product management lead at Google. I'm responsible for payments compliance and payment security, so part of Google's payments platform. Before this, I was in Google Cloud for almost 3 years, where I worked on cloud security and network security products. Prior to that, I was at Oracle and Juniper. So I've spent quite a bit of time in cybersecurity, product management roles, building products on security analytics, network and cloud security. And that's an area of passion and interest for me. So looking forward to talking to you guys about how the work I have done in building 0 to 1 products in the security space and more recently now in the fintech space around compliance and security.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I'll also take a minute to introduce myself. So, hey guys, I'm Abhishek. I'm a senior product manager at Amazon. I started at Amazon 6 years ago almost. I started at AWS and was building some very cool product for Amazon S3 at reInvent. And I knew that product management was my calling then. From there on, I actually moved to retail, where me and my team, we were working on the refunds and the replacements and the technology behind it. So whenever you call Amazon customer service and you get a gift card or they replace your items for you, you can blame me or thank me and my team for that. From there on, I actually moved to Amazon's Whole Food, where I was working on the grocery and supply chain technology. So had a lot of experience working on products which save money for the company. And then I moved into the space called advertisement, where I'm learning how ads work and the technology behind it. So super pumped to be here. Yeah, so I guess, Shishir, let's get right into it, right?
Yeah.
So would love to know, Shishir, how do you define product market fit, and what, according to you, is the definition for it?
Yeah, sure, Abhishek. I can start and then would love to get your thoughts as well. So I'll actually start with just using a quote that I really like from Mark Andreessen. So if you think of product market fit, it means, according to him, it means being in a good market with a product that can satisfy the market. And I feel that captures the essence of PMF or product market fit really well, right? So the way I like to think of it is there's the product, there's the market, and then there are the customers, right? So essentially, as product managers or as the founding members of maybe a startup or whatever business you are in, you got to look at and really understand what market you are playing in. It could be cloud, it could be fintech, but even within that market, you are really trying to understand a very compelling set of customer problems, and then figure out how do you want to address or solve those problems, right? The product or features or capabilities that you think you can uniquely build to address the needs of those customers in that particular market, right? So that to me is product market fit. And again, typically you will have to go through many iterations to find that product market fit, assuming eventually you are able to find it, right? So again, think of market, product, and customers, and how can you solve the customer problems to meet the needs of that market.
Awesome. That's fantastic. You mentioned a word which is very close to my heart, which is the iterations. Yeah, nobody has ever gotten to product market fit in one straight shot, and I know we will talk about it later. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, my perspective, I tend to look at product market fit depending upon the stage at which the product is in. So I have this very silly analogy of CBS, which is create, build, and scale. So in the creation stage, the product market fit becomes very, very important. It is a so think imagine yourself uh, putting your hand in a big box which has different sizes of gloves, right? And you're trying to fit that right glove which fits your fingers perfectly. And that to me is the product market fit for the creation stage. And to give a better example, in 1995 when Amazon started, they got the product market fit by selling books online when they had orders from all the 50 states and in the 30 days within which they were launching. So they knew that they had something there. The next stage is called the build stage. And in the build stage is where you know that you have the product market fit, but at the same time, what becomes important is how do you distinguish yourself from the competitor? So you want to increase the gap between what you are offering versus what the competitors can copy. So for an example, in the Amazon's case, once they knew that they had the product market fit for the books, they expanded in music, they expanded in toys, and added all those categories to them. And then the third stage, which I think about, which I think most of us work in, is the scale stage. So like you have the product market fit, you have already distinguished yourself from the competitors, and how do you scale it from 100,000 users to 10 million users? And product market fit for me in that case becomes like, how do you really focus on delighting customers by controlling the input metrics which you have and trying to squeeze out the teeny mini opportunities which you can get with an already big scale which you have.
That's great, Abhishek.
Awesome. All right, so let's continue. So Shishir, audience would love to know, why is product market fit even important?
Yeah, so I think you touched upon it a little bit, right? But again, depending on the product, the stage of the company you are in, the importance of PMF could vary, right? So again, if you think of from a startup perspective, or even like I have mostly worked in mid to big size companies building 0 to 1 products, right? So the key here is that if you think of, again, maybe using your analogy of like create, build, and scale, when you are initially in that create stage, whether in a startup or even in a big size company, what you want to quickly do is figure out what you are building. Is it really going to resonate with customers? Have you really identified a compelling customer pain point? And the solution you are building to address that pain point, does it meet the customers? Too often, what could otherwise happen is you might feel or get a sense of product market fit, and you start pushing more on the marketing engine or sales engine, and then you quickly realize that it's not scaling because maybe in the first place you did not have a good enough product market fit, right? So I think in my mind, the reason PMF is important is because it allows you to quickly iterate on getting to a state where your product starts resonating with customers, and then it allows you to scale much faster as opposed to maybe spending your resources on marketing or sales prematurely, right? So to give a concrete example, like in one of my previous companies, I was working on a cloud security product, and we actually had a very good technology to solve to solve essentially the firewall network security problem. And we were trying to go after three different customer segments. One was like cloud, and we were also trying to go to telcos, and we were also trying to go to like traditional data centers, right? So it's a more enterprise example, but the point is we actually were spending a lot of effort trying to meet the needs of all three markets, and quickly we realized that it's not sort of scaling, right? And then we stepped back and looked at the feedback we were getting from customers, and once we were able to zoom in on, let's say in this case, the cloud segment, and then we saw more traction that's happening. So to me, at times you could spend a lot of effort going after different markets or different customer segments, where each of these segments might not have, let's call it the product market fit. So it also allows you to step back and think of like, is your solution addressing the needs of a particular segment in a very compelling and differentiated way? And that's where you might want to double down before branching out to different customer segments or different products.
Yeah, excellent, man. I 100% agree with what you said. Zooming in on the right fit and doubling down on it and making sure that you have the focus are the right components in knowing why it is important. If I may add, and it's just complementary to your answer, Shishir, is like what happens when you don't have product market fit, right? So that's what happens when you have the lack of product market fit. And I think you touched upon those. So in the create stage, if you lack product market fit, which is with a lot of startups, you would end up, like you said, pushing. You would end up basically having non-organically pay for all the growth. So you would acquire customers, but they would leave. You will start seeing the churn because you did not have the product market fit in the first place, and you would see those numbers coming down very quickly. In the build stage, if you don't have product market fit, it would be what is called in subscription world as a leaky bucket. So the customers would come in, but then they would leak out because they got that one-time promo to use your product, and they just don't see the value in it. And if there's a lack of product market fit, you actually can never scale to a much higher extent. And that is how I think the lack of product market would basically define your guidance and your positions. Cool. Let's move on, man. How do you measure product market fit?
Why don't you start with this?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. So I think if you are in the, I'll keep using the CBS example because I think it's just easier for me to explain it that way. If you're in the create stage, your product is not yet out. And one of the articles which I keep referring to is an article on how to measure product market fit by Superhuman CEO Rahul Vora, right? And in that case, you actually go to the small number of customers who are using your product and figure out if you have 40% customers who would be very disappointed if your product ceased to exist tomorrow, right? And if you are lower than 40, the claim is that you don't have product market fit. then. So it's a very clear, it's one way to really understand or measure how, whether you have a product market fit or not in the create stage. For the build stage, I think because you already have a product market fit and you're building, I think the focus should be on input metrics 100%. So for an example, in Amazon's case, the focus when they were building Amazon was not on like whether our revenue increased or not. The product the product positioning was that, hey, we can get books or music to the customer by them having sitting at home. So the focus was on how can we get it faster. So time was the input metric there. Can the customers have more selection? The selection was the input metric there. Can we get it to them at the least price or not? And if you really focus on controlling your input metrics in the build stage or in the scale stage, I believe that is exactly what will give you the desired output. Uh, so yeah, that is how I tend to think about measuring product market fit across the 3 dimensions. What about you, Shishir?
Yeah, no, I think you touched on a lot of good points. I'll just add again. It's very like, because one of the topics of this session is how do you measure product market fit. Uh, there is no single set of metrics that can tell any business when it achieves product market fit. So I would encourage all of you on the call or even otherwise to just look at those metrics in context of your business that you are doing, right? And typically it would be a combination of quantitative metrics and qualitative also. So quantitative metrics typically that people tend to use are maybe your NPS or your Net Promoter Score, right? Which is an indication of, yeah, like if your product is resonating with the customers, then those customers are recommending you to other set of customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's your NPS. You can also look at churn rate, which is what Abhishek mentioned earlier around having that leaky bucket, right? Like maybe you are getting customers, but are you able to retain those customers? Are those customers expanding further with you, right? Like they might start with a smaller deployment or a smaller basket, but are they growing their business with you, right? That's another indication of product market fit. Growth rate, as in like revenue growth or initial revenue. For example, one of the projects I worked on in cloud, uh, we were projecting certain revenues for that product at launch, and when we launched that product, actually the revenue turned out to be like 5x of what we were projecting, right? And that was in some sense a good indication of that, yes, we are achieving product market fit. So those are more quantitative, but in terms of qualitative, again, looking at like what are your customers talking about, uh, looking at maybe even your sales feedback, looking at your support tickets, right? A lot of times, especially when you are early stage, you also look at what is the media saying about you, what are the industry analysts saying about you. So I think all of those. Uh, so so essentially, you have to triangulate across a different set of metrics and signals to really figure out whether you are approaching product market fit. And also, one last point here is that it's not like a point in time, right? You need to continue to have either dashboards or metrics which track your product market fit and evolve accordingly, right? To maintain product market fit, because especially in the tech industry, things are moving so fast that you continue to evaluate your product market fit and adjust accordingly, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely true, man. Yeah, evolve or die, right? That's how it goes in tech world. Awesome. So yeah, let's talk some real examples. So Shishir, do you have an example from your professional experiences where you built a certain product, and would you like to talk about like how you knew that you had a product market fit?
Yeah, sure. So let me talk about a few real life examples based on my experience. And I would also like to just start with a rough framework and then go through some examples. Uh, Typically, I mean, the way you would start with is you have some sort of a hypothesis, right? Based on a customer problem statement, based on the market. You really want to prove it and then quickly iterate on it. The key with achieving PMF is really being able to test and iterate fast, right? So you want to reduce that time to get to product market fit, right? So essentially, like step one would be determine who is your target customer. right? Who are you really going after? What are the step two would be something like, what are their needs that you want to serve? This could be unmet needs, or this could be needs that are underserved, right? And you might want to solve them better. And then figuring out like, what's your value prop? How are you differentiated compared to the competition, right? How are you uniquely solving that problem? And then quickly coming up with that MVP to test that hypothesis with the customers, right? So you have your MVP feature set, you build that MVP, and then you are testing with your customers and iterating on it, right? So that's sort of the mental model I tend to use with the products I have worked on, especially the products that I have worked on, which are more 0 to 1. And then if I go back to my experience, I'll give you 3 examples sort of in 3 different buckets. So one of the most recent ones, which I worked on in Google Cloud, is a product that does network intrusion detection. And in this case, again, we had like an early hypothesis around that customers needed cloud native security product around intrusion detection, but they also wanted best of breed security. So that was the hypothesis. And we did bunch of calls with customers to validate that hypothesis. So we did that. But I think the key here, which I was able to work through with my team, was really building a product prototype in like 9 months, partnering with one of the industry leading players in this space, and get out to the market, right? So this was a good example for me where we were able to launch something within 9 months, which actually now the result shows that it has a pretty good market fit. And the key here, learning for me, was that we were not trying to boil the ocean, right? So in the sense that we defined our MVP to actually just make sure that, yes, will this even resonate with our target customers in Google Cloud, right? So that was one example. The second example from one of my other companies, where again we had a like very interesting product around security analytics, leveraging rules and ML. But in that case, we were trying to go after like a set of customers which were like in multiple clouds, like Google or GCP, AWS. But it turned out that we had a very interesting technology, but we did not have good product market fit. Also, one of the reasons was go to market. So we didn't touch upon go to market here a lot, but there was no good way for us to reach out to these multi-cloud customers. And in the end, we scaled back and we said, okay, why don't we let's focus on like one cloud as opposed to going after multi-cloud customers, right? So that was second. And the third example that I can share in terms of product market fit is another product I worked on at Juniper Networks, where again, we had a very compelling technology to do security in cloud, but we were early to the market, in all fairness, right? So the market was still looking at appliances as the primary way to deploy cloud security. And for us, it took a while to really figure out like which is the sweet spot, as in like going after telcos or public cloud or data centers. So it took us a bit of iteration, and the product did not have that much success early on. I mean, today it's a pretty successful product. A part of it was sort of go to market. We were early to the market as well. So maybe Abhishek, if you want to add your examples to it. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. The one example which comes to my mind is where we tried to improve the technology behind a product, but we weren't sure whether the technology would work or not. So for an example, at Whole Foods, whenever you place an order online, there is a shopper who actually goes and picks the items on the shelves and then enters it in their app, right? So there are these items called variable weight items. Let's say that you weigh 2 pounds of almonds, right? And then you put it on a weighing scale, the scale would print out a label. But then what we observed was that the shoppers actually had to enter the weight. So for example, 2 pounds, and manually key it in the app. And we were like, there surely must be a better way for us to like, take a picture of the label or something where we can just automatically detect the weight from the label itself. So as a MVP, we figured out like, okay, what sorts of labels we wanted to target, and we worked on a technology which basically reads the weight from the label. But and our definition of product market fit in that case was like, okay, if 60% of the shoppers are going to use it and save time, that would mean that we have at least uh, gotten to some kind of product market fit. But when we launched the product, we realized that only much lower than what we anticipated were the number of shoppers who were actually using our product. And we were wondering like whether it is the technology that is complicated for the shoppers to use, or was it an education that, hey, this is also a feature which you could use, for an example, pressing the camera button. And we realized that it was the latter. So we knew that if education was the issue, training the shoppers once on it would mean that they would use the technology repeatedly. And that is what ended up happening for us. So in that case, we knew that it had the product market fit, but we had to remove the education layer from top of it so that people were aware and knew how to use it. Yep. Awesome. I think we have few minutes left. Do we want to open up for questions? See a lot of comments in the chat. Caitlin, do we have time for questions or?
Yeah, you definitely do. You had a couple come in earlier, one from Nathan, who asked, how do you tell if you have a product market fit problem versus a sales/marketing problem?
Shishir, you want to take that, or?
Why don't you start and I can add to it?
Yeah, I think the devil is in the details, right? Like, so for an example, if it's a sales or a marketing problem, think of it in the terms of like boundary constraint, right? If your product did not exist, was the customer going to call you or like knock on your door or ring you in the middle of the night saying what happened, right? And if you have that, then it is probably you have the product market fit, but it is just that the product is not reaching to the right customers, right? But if you have a sales and a marketing problem, the other way around, but if you don't have a product market fit in the first place, sales and marketing can bring you the customer in the funnel, but they are going to go through that leaky bucket. And that is something which you would have to like really measure and go back to your customers, keep toggling between knowing whether you actually have a product market fit or whether it is a sales or a marketing problem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, especially again, I come from a security industry background, and in security, what you'll find is it's very noisy, right? Like there are lots and lots of vendors, and each of them have a unique spin on the problem they are trying to solve for customers, right? So sometimes it could feel like, oh, we have built a great technology and product, but it's not getting traction. So it must be something to do with sales and marketing, right? So sometimes it's possible, right? Maybe the way you are explaining the concept to customers is pretty complex, and you want to really figure out how best you can communicate it to the customers via maybe a better marketing. But I would still, again, look back at, like, if you have a set of 10, 20, 30 customers that you have acquired organically, are they like, how do they like your product? Are they using your product on a daily basis? Again, depending on the product, right? Are they expanding the usage, right? So that tells you that whether your product is resonating with the customers that you have acquired. And it's important to really iterate with your first 20, 30 customers. Because then you know that it's a fit with those customers, and then you can scale up your sales and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think just to close on that, I think you would know because you will probably not be able to keep up with the demand of how many customers get to know about it and then now are knocking your door. Like, it will be like overnight, as if like there is just so much demand, but you just don't have enough wheels to fulfill that. And that is when you know that it is not a product market fit, but you really need to like scale your business at that point of time. But if nobody is asking for it, if the customers seem to be like very indifferent whether your product existed or not, then it's a product market fit problem.
Nice, thank you. just to kind of finish off, I think we've got time for one more. We've got a comment from Amin who has said, I wonder if having an acquisition channel is part of a correct product market fit. Have you kind of got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can quickly answer that, and I actually commented on that. I think it is in some sense, right? You have to figure out how are you going to reach out to the customers. That should be an element of your product market fit. But again, it goes back to the stage you are in, right? Like, are you trying to scale the company, go from like 20, 30 customers to 100 customers, right? Versus you are still in that stage where you are trying to get your first 20, 30 customers. So I would again look at that lens and try to really hone into like your first 20, 30 customers with a repeatable motion. Then you can have your acquisition channel get you more leads, which are top of the funnel. But then you know that if you get more leads top of the funnel, then you can easily convert them into paid customers or customers who are happy with your product.
Yeah. I have a philosophical answer to this question. I feel like the product market fit is acquisition channel agnostic. If you are building a product which you already know is solving a problem, then you would know who the customers are to target in the first place and figure out the way to acquire them. So it goes back to the question, right? Like, are you building the product working backwards from the customer, or are you building the product and then now trying to find the customers to acquire? If it is the latter, then you are going to struggle with the acquisition channel.
Great, thanks guys. That is all we've got time for. But thank you both so much for a great chat, and thanks to our audience for their questions and comments in the chat as well. It was a great session. So yeah, thanks all for tuning in and taking part. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with more sessions. So hope to see you all back then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.